morning, Earthlings. How you doing? Welcome to First Contact Radio. All right, let's see what we got going today. Cosmic weather starts things off. Spaceweather.com. Solar wind 464.6 kilometers per second. Planetary K index 1. Got a coronal hole going on down here. Let's check this out. Right there. A little something up here looks like it's brewing. M-class flares down. 55% chance. Going lower to 40% in the next 24 hours. X-class, 10% chance. Geomagnetic storm activity, not really anything at all at this moment. We do have notice of a flare that came off yesterday. Sunspot complex AR 1520 and 21 erupted on July 17th, producing an M1 class flare that unfolded slowly over a period of hours. Slow explosions often produce CMEs, and this one was no exception. Click on the image to view the movie of a bright, massive cloud recorded by Solo and Heliospheric Observatory. And here you can click on that and check that out. So we should be feeling that over the course of this weekend. Alright, that's our solar weather. Our space weather over here at Astrology on the 18th today. So we're at a new moon. The moon's in Cancer, so we have the sun sign in Cancer, which is our conscious mind. We have the unconscious mind also in Cancer. So Cancer is the element of water, deals with emotions. So we got emotions going on the outside and emotions going on the inside. And then we got a new moon, which brings its own fresh set of energy with it. A new moon is an opportunity to think about beginning something. Good opportunity, good time to begin something. Target it as today's beginning date, and then in 2 weeks when the moon is full, see what kind of progress you've made. Use this as a point of maybe between today and the full moon, work on building something new. Use that as your goal date. Try that, see what happens if you work from moon to moon, new moon to full moon. See what kind of activity and energy you get. Alright, here's our moon phase, 0% full, barely even a sliver. That's can be seen. We go over here to our Mayan Oracle. We're on a 12-tone day. Right here, 12 tones called the crystal tone. Symbol for today right in the middle is the monkey, and the guide is the knight. So that makes this a blue crystal monkey guided by the knight. You can see we're here in the 12th position, getting ready to jump off. The crystal tone is called the crystal tone of cooperation. It's just before the jump on the 13th that everyone gets together to figure out what's going on, kind of cooperate in the process of planning the next phase. Today's also one of those galactic activation portal days. The phrase is, I dedicate in order to play, universalizing illusion. I seal the process of magic with the crystal tone of cooperation. I am guided by the power of abundance. And let's go down here. Here's our galactic activation portal day. Alright, it's a mirror image of this one over here. Alright. So these are reflections of how the energy moves throughout the Zolkin. And of course, as I just said, today is Wednesday, the 18th of July, 2012. Alright, so continuing on with our theme for our opening movies this week. The Lunar Conspiracy, Part 1 of 5. This is the week that's the anniversary of the moon landing. The moon landing is one of those events in human history, American history certainly, that was a great event, but there are those, and quite a few of them, who believe and think that the moon landing was possibly faked. And the reason is because there are so many strange coincidences that occur with the moon landing and other things. So you've been seeing some of them this week. You've seen 2 shows. This is the 3rd one. I'm going to show you something again tomorrow and then Friday. So let me get to it. Show you this piece right here. It's called Lunar Conspiracy. It's 1 of 5.
Did it really happen? John Ronson meets people next on board who suggest the lunar mission was all faked.
Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin never landed on the moon. Nobody's ever landed on the moon. The whole thing has been faked in a television studio. Out of all the conspiracy theories, this is possibly the most cogent, with hard photographic evidence and motives ranging from the nebulous to the persuasive.
I'm a filmmaker and professional photographer, and have evidence that the visual record of the Apollo moon landings was both faked and encoded with a means by which we could detect these fakes.
I'm Barry Reynolds, originally a firm believer in the moon landings, now carefully reconsidering and evaluating the evidence, both for and against.
My name's Matthew Williams. I'm a believer in the paranormal. I used to be a skeptic, but one thing I don't believe in is that NASA has told us the truth about the moon missions.
My name is Marcus Allen. It's not a matter of belief in the moon landings, it's a matter of looking at the evidence. The evidence does not support the belief that man landed on the moon.
My name is Andy Thomas, and I'm a writer and a lecturer on the paranormal. And I believe there are persuasive clues to suggest that many of the NASA photographs of the moon landings have been tampered with or even fabricated.
My name is Mary Bennett, and during my research I have found serious evidence to suggest that Apollo astronauts did not actually set foot on the lunar surface.
Maybe I can start with you, Mary. Can you explain exactly what has happened over the last 30 years? Has nobody ever landed on the moon?
I wouldn't say that nobody has ever landed on the moon. I would say that the American Apollo astronauts that we have been led to believe landed on the moon during the Apollo space program did not, could not have done. And I will be prepared to eat my hat on this one, should I be shown to be wrong.
Mm. And where does this come from? Why do you think this never happened?
Firstly, because the photographic proof and various other hard scientific facts demonstrate that with the technology available at that time, it's highly doubtful that they would have been able to do that.
So let's start at the beginning. The space shuttle took off. We also had to take it off.
I must correct you. Space shuttle is recent. It was a Saturn V rocket.
Mm-hmm. So the rocket it took off. I mean, it definitely took off.
We saw it take off, and NASA has said, yes, we did.
There were a lot of people.
We all saw the rocket take off.
The Earth's surface. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So I assume that the rocket took off and then landed somewhere where nobody was looking.
Well, a scenario could be that the craft took off with the astronauts in the capsule, because if anything should happen by way of a disaster at launch, we would want to see, unfortunately, the remains of the astronauts on board. But what could happen is that the craft would take off, the capsule will go into orbit. After all, that's a tried and tested way of getting into space, but it's only very low space, it's not real space.
Well, we see it going a long way up.
We see it going a long way up. That's right. We see it going a long way up, out of sight.
Is out of mind.
That's right. The capsule can then orbit, and then there is no reason at all why it shouldn't land in the Pacific until the time when allegedly they are returning from the moon, and the capsule then can be put back into orbit and dropped down. Now, what happened in between, of course, is what we're going to discuss today.
I mean, the point is that why would they want to fake it? And that's what the question people would ask. But, I mean, it was so politically important at the time to get men on the moon, to beat Russia, be the first on the moon, that really when you've got those high stakes that anything could go wrong, and there's a million things that could go wrong, and as they say, not one thing went wrong, everything went right. They were very lucky that they got there in one piece. And with those sorts of odds, would somebody have said, well, okay, we can say they went to the moon, but nobody will know. But for our purposes and for the rest of the world, we will look like the world leaders in space. But we can fake those bits, and maybe we'll do them again. Maybe they'd done them previously, but they couldn't tell people, because there's sort of certain evidence to say that they've actually been to the moon earlier as well, and that's kind of interesting. Yes, I mean, yes, well, I mean, the Russians went and sent their probes up to the moon, the automatic probes.
Certainly, yes.
Yes, and there was evidence that there was certain sort of structures on the moon back in those days, taken from telescopes, yes. I mean, I've been following this as you've been following this, but I mean, I don't follow the theory that they didn't go to the moon. I actually believe they did go to the moon, but I'm just exploring the possibility that possibly somebody would have said, this is very dangerous, what we ought to do is not quite send them there, bring the people back alive.
Not quite sending somebody to the moon and actually getting them on the moon. Once you've got outside the Van Allen belt, it's the same difference. They cannot survive the trip. The radiation
yes,
is
you mean the
far too
radiation
strong.
stories, yes.
So once you're outside there, whether you not quite is the same as being dead.
Do we know that that's true for certain, that you can't survive outside the Van Allen belts without several feet of lead? I mean, is that a proven
You can't
fact?
get several feet of lead off the planet with the rocket technology
Shall we
that they have in
explain
the
actually what the
60s.
Van Allen belt is?
Yeah. I assume that's an area somewhere over the ozone layer. Which
Yes, it's way beyond the ozone layer. It stretches between about 600 miles and many thousands of miles out into space. When we talk of the space shuttle going into orbit, this is only a few hundred miles up. It's designed
between
only
200 and 300 miles up.
That's correct.
It.
That's
As
it.
far as anybody goes.
But the Van Allen belt is the belt that protects us on this planet. Living on this planet is equal to being protected by about 10 meters or over 30 feet of water. That's the protection from radiation that we get walking around on the surface of this planet. Now imagine being in a tin can, going through the radiation belt, which is very, very intense, and beyond the Van Allen belt, there's no protection at all. So we're going virtually naked before creation, beyond the protective belt of our planet, in a tin can and in basically a linen suit with a plastic visor.
Which we don't keep down because we want to have a look out.
Now, the scientific measurement of what happens to you beyond the Van Allen belt is very interesting. If you are exposed to more than 300 rems, which is the measurement they used in the 60s, you are likely to die within a few days, perhaps 40%. 500 rems and about 50% of people will be dead in a few days.
So you said it's physically impossible that anybody's ever been on the moon. It never
You didn't
happened.
actually say that.
No, you can send anyone or any living thing to the moon, but can, as Kennedy said that they wanted to do, can you bring them back alive? That's the question. Because if they're fried, you can get them there, perhaps. But if you have people like Armstrong and Aldrin
Well, they've
still
all been
alive,
interviewed on TV afterwards. All of them, haven't they?
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, so
Maybe
they can
they
never have
didn't.
gone up there in the first
Well,
place.
this is the
That's
conclusion
right.
one has to come to.
Maybe they didn't go as far, did they? Maybe they
And
were still
you see,
inside
the only
the
safe
protected
distance
belt.
to go is
Yes.
up to the point of the Van Allen belt, which is where the shuttle goes.
Well below.
Well below, in
300.
fact.
They
It
won't
goes only
go
halfway
higher.
there.
So where do you come from? You're a photographer, and so you looked at these photographs as a professional photographer rather than as somebody who was interested in conspiracy theories.
Yes, there was no conspiracy in the early days. In fact, I used to be a cinema projectionist, and in the 60s, I was running a cinema in Hampstead, the classic Hampstead. And when we landed on the moon, I put up a slide to the audience. I said, July, we put the date at the top, 20th of July, 1969, man has set foot on the moon. It's exactly what I wrote on this slide.
And did everybody in the
They
audience...
all clapped and cheered, and it was up there for quite a few minutes. And it was wonderful.
After a while, saying, can we see the film now?
Well, the film is still going. This was superimposed over the picture.
Oh, that must have really pleased them.
And it was wonderful. Yes, fine. And a lot of people watched it live on television and so forth. But because I'm also a filmmaker, I got a hold of the material that was the alleged tele-recordings of the transmissions. There are many hours, over 80 hours worth, of transmissions, allegedly from the moon. And I started comparing these photographs, which are full of holes in themselves, with the TV coverage. I think one example I could give you is of Aldrin coming down the ladder. It's quite a famous picture. In fact, there are a set of pictures. So not only do we have problems with the lighting, where we can see quite clearly that despite the fact he's coming down the ladder in the shade, he's perfectly bright, equally bright to the surface of the moon beyond him.
And Neil Armstrong wasn't standing
Well,
there
interestingly
with
enough, Neil Armstrong has to be standing here in order to take the picture. But when you look at the television coverage of our friend coming down the ladder, Neil Armstrong is standing somewhere else.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Today I have 5 stories. Story number 1 comes to us from, this is latest-ufo-sightings.net. UFO activity over Midlothian, Scotland. Check this out here. This was on the 16th using, as it says, 5x42 night vision. Alright. Looks like we got a whole grouping of them, right? 4 of them. That's what I'm counting. Maybe some more up here. They seem to be moving at a pretty good clip. Well, maybe this is the only one and the others are just stationary. Or are they all part of the group? Actually, it looks like a big group, doesn't it? Alright, there you go. That's what's going on in the skies over at Midlothian, Scotland. Next we have over Dallas, Fort Worth. This was daytime recorded at Dallas on, doesn't have a date, just the month of July. Oh, this was a year ago. Okay, this is 2011. Alright, there we go. We've seen this many a times. Silvery looking object here. Alright. So that's over, says July 2012, so alright. Moving on. This is over Griffith Park in Silverlake in Los Angeles. Took place on the 16th, so I somehow got a gut feeling I was going to see a UFO that night, so I went out on the rooftop. First thing I see are UFOs. Now this is just the first part, hovering around Silverlake, glowing neon green, red, white, yellowish. That's the first minute of it. I slow, I see another UFO to the right. And the blinking. Okay, so let's just check it out here. That's the first grouping. There's the one right there. Another UFO maybe? Okay. It's an 11-minute video, so I'm going to fast forward. It's just a little dot up in the sky there.
Helicopters don't blink, that's low, or planes.
Okay. Very interesting indeed.
Okay, that's a helicopter right there.
Yep, there's the helicopter. Alright, let's move on to the next one down here, see what we got here. This one is a close-up view of the UFOs. I'm gonna fast forward through here. Alright. There we go. So as you watch this yourself, you'll be able to blow this thing up and get a better, good bird's eye view of what this is. Alright, so there you go. We got 2 good videos of the sighting over Los Angeles Griffith Park. Next sighting here comes to us from New Hampshire, also from the 16th of July. One of the basic steps in all serious scientific study is to observe patterns of behavior. The ufology community is really no different. First we had saucer-shaped UFO, then triangular-shaped UFOs, and now donut-shaped UFOs seem to be presenting themselves in a recurring fashion in 2012. All types, shapes, and sizes of UFO continue to be seen, filmed, and documented in our skies, but some just keep reoccurring. Alright, you know, perhaps, this is just a theory, but perhaps ET has decided that they want to make communication with our police force down here on the planet. And they know from studying that the best way to communicate with the police is with donuts. So they're using their technology to present themselves as donuts to get the police interested. I know, it's just a crazy theory, haha, but, you know, these are the jokes, folks, these are the jokes. Anyway, there you go, that's the video, or the UFO. There we can look at the strange morphingness of it. There we go. This interesting looking image there. Alright, and then of course, if you recall, this video here was the tether incident for NASA. And this is when they spotted this big thing just right out here. Okay.
Of the diameter of the UFO.
Alright, there you go.
Now when you see them go behind the tether.
Okay, so that's to refresh your memory, and then of course there was the sun. And then there was this thing right here. So these round donut shaped like UFOs have been appearing in multiple places. Alright, again, my theory is to get the police interested in the subject UFOs, because they know if they make a donut shape, the police will probably be more interested than if they didn't. Just a theory. Alright, here we go. Is there a huge alien hoax concerning UFOs and the government? New Mexico. This is from our friend Norio Hayakawa. New Mexico UFO and Paranormal Forum. Let's see, Saturday the 21st. Manzano Mesa Multi-Generational Center. Norio is going to speak on the U.S. government and the great alien hoax. Fascinating origins of Dulce underground base rumors, and a closer look at the beliefs in the Area 51 conspiracies. Norio Hayakawa, former director of the Civilian Intelligence Network, is a longtime UFO researcher who has for many years thoroughly studied the fascinating topic of Area 51 in Nevada, as well as widespread claims about the existence of an underground base in Dulce, New Mexico. He has spoken in many conferences nationwide, especially in the early 90s. His present focus is on the study of a segment of the population's diehard belief in physical UFOs and aliens may not have only been manipulated, they also may have been promoted in part by an elite echelon of U.S. intelligence community, as well as by such similar cabal within the military. So, if you recall, Norio Hayakawa has been on the show, has a really great interview we did in regards to Dulce, and you can find that right from the very front page of the website there. You'll see the link of the past guests, and click on it, listen to it. Very, very informative. I've heard him talk about Dulce a number of times, and I feel like the interview he did for the show was one of the most informative I've ever heard him speak. So definitely check it out. He gave a lot of information that day, and I think you'll find it fascinating if you haven't already heard it. Alright, there you have it for our UFO news. Let me jump away for a minute. I'll be right back with more news and information. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Alright, I'm back. I'm back. Continuing on, yesterday was the Obama trial. Well, not trial. Yesterday was the Obama Press conference Sheriff Joe gave. Front page of Judge Dredd, or the Drudge Report. I don't know what I'm thinking here. The Drudge Report says it's a fake. It's a fake. That's what the front page says. Why? Because, well, let me play this clip for you here. This is a bit of a clip from yesterday. Basically, and these two reports here are going to reiterate what I'm about to tell you. Basically, Sheriff Joe came out and confirmed that, yes, the document is a forgery. They went over the different tests that they had done. They didn't reiterate on all the tests because some of them were given in the March 1st press conference. What they did was reiterate on what happened since then about the trip to Hawaii, and what they ended up finding out was that there is a much needed problem to be looked at dealing with national security, because it would appear that not only Barack Obama was one of those whose birth certificate is in question, but it would appear that any birth certificate coming out of the state of Hawaii, due to the rules and the loopholes, could possibly be considered as not really meaning anything because of how many have been given away. I'm going to play this for you here. I got a couple stories on this, so stay tuned. This is big news, but the biggest news in all of this was that the document is forged. And you know what was unbelievable? It was unbelievable to hear some of these reporters that was in the room. I got to tell you, there's reporters that were there, and I only have one response to the reporters who were asking Joe the stupid questions. And that okay? For all of you reporters out there that are clueless, I don't know what you're thinking, but you're working for mainstream newspapers and mainstream agencies and networks, and yet you ask some of the most asinine questions I think anyone could ask. Do you not care about this country? That is my question to the reporters that were there. Do you not care about this country? Would you want Osama bin Laden to be the president? No, you wouldn't. Yet there is a man who is in the office that claims a Muslim affiliation going back to his early records, the ones out of Indonesia. We've seen over time his sympathy towards the Muslims, the rules that he's making, all kind of point to the fact that there's a guy in office who doesn't have the same ideals as an American citizen. So if you as an American citizen can sit there and can think that that is okay, that the man in power right now doesn't have the same ideals of America as you do, if you think that's okay, then you got a big problem. And if you're a reporter that's out there, you got a bigger problem, because you're misinforming the people because you got your head so far up your ass. So my suggestion to you, and I believe that it was Channel 5 CBS out there in Arizona, especially to you, idiot, for the dumb questions you were asking. You need to pull your head out of your ass, and you need to start asking the problems about how to fix the problems in America. Not go after Sheriff Joe, because if this crime was committed against you, if there was a crime against you, and Sheriff Joe was the guy looking into it, you would be using this information to go out there to find the perpetrator of the crime rather than covering for the man. So there you are, you and all your other major network affiliate cronies, there you are trying to cover up information that is very important. What's wrong with you people? What is wrong with you? Are you think America's in such a great state that you don't need to point out any of these flaws? Do you think that it's okay to cover up the lies of the president? I don't understand. I don't understand what's wrong with you Main Street reporters. You mainstream, I don't get it. I don't get it. You just seem to think that you're immune from all of the problems that's going to go on. That if martial law is declared, the military is just going to say, oh, you're the mainstream, we're not going to mess with you. No, you're going to be caught in the middle. You're being used as pawns. All of you are being used as pawns and you don't realize it. One day I hope you do, because I hope you at one point realize the seriousness that your families are all under as much challenge and problems as every other family in America. And that the lies you are telling on your news shows are really digging a deeper hole for everybody and for America. You see, when Americans don't pay attention to what's going on, then we have stupid laws that get passed. And then we have stupid judgments that get passed, like a court where the jury actually votes in favor of the TSA agent over the other person. This is a set of jurors who haven't been paying attention to what's going on in the world. And I guarantee one of them probably has a child, and one of them, if they took their child to the airport and if their child was touched inappropriately, I would guarantee that that parent would be upset. Yet that same parent probably sat on that jury and voted in favor of the TSA unknowingly, because the media lies to them, because people are trusting and people turn on and they expect the media to tell them the truth. But when the Bill O'Reillys of the world lie to you, it's hard to understand the truth. When people believe every frickin' thing that man says, or the O'Donnells, or the other nonsense, I don't even remember all their names of all these shows. But when they lie to you, and you believe the lies, there's a problem. Gallup poll did a poll recently. 79% of Americans do not trust the news. That leaves 21%. So there's 21% in America that are watching the news that think it's true. You 21%, you need to open up your eyes. You're being lied to. You're being lied to. And you know what? The 79% shouldn't have to follow along with the stupid understandings of you 21%. So you 21%, you better either get with the program or expect that as things keep getting worse, you're just going to get left behind in your understanding of what's going on, because people are going to stop wanting to explain to you. Okay? So that's my rant for the moment. I'm going to go now and I'm going to play this stuff on Sheriff Joe. This was very important. There is a crime in this country being committed by the President of the United States. And yet Americans are turning a blind eye as if, oh, this happens all the time, it doesn't matter. It does matter. And if you don't do something about it, if you don't speak out against this, then surely one of these days in the near future or in the far away future, one of your relatives is going to be subject to laws that are put into place by this president because you didn't do anything about it. You sat around and you didn't speak up because you were too afraid. Well, now is the time to stop being afraid. Let's listen to this. Here we go.
As far as we're concerned, our analysis of the digital portion of this document is finished. We are fully persuaded that we could prove that this document has been manipulated.
New developments tonight surrounding Sheriff Joe Arpaio's investigation into President Obama's birth certificate.
Arpaio announcing he believes the certificate is a fraud and says he has the evidence to back it up. But does that evidence really prove anything? And what happens now? Fox 10 has team coverage of today's announcement. Miriam Garcia looked into the politics of what went on today. But we start with Andrew Hasman, who was at that news conference and joins us live with more on what was revealed today. What was it, Andrew?
Well, Troy, for about an hour and a half, the sheriff's lead investigator on this issue, who actually spent time in Hawaii looking into it, laid out the evidence that they found. It's complicated, but they say it proves the president's birth certificate could be a fake. Investigators point to a couple of items on the birth certificate released by the White House that they say raises questions. The numbering at the top of the birth certificate is supposed to be assigned based on the time and date of birth, but they say the numbers appear to be out of sequence. There's also a number handwritten on some of the boxes on the birth certificate. The number 9 appears, which back in the 60s meant that the information wasn't provided. Yet there is information on the copy the White House released.
You can't have a document coded like other documents, double-checked, and have a code that says 9 not stated, and have a piece of information sitting in the box. That just can't happen.
Posse investigator Mike Zullo even tracked down the woman whose signature appears at the bottom of the certificate. She's now 95 and told him mistakes didn't happen on her watch.
Every document surrounding this one individual is plagued with problems. They're all plagued with problems.
Zullo also points out that Hawaiian laws back in the 60s regarding birth certificates were not very strict.
When you start something like this and the evidence starts to take you in a direction, all of a sudden, what sounds like a conspiracy may not be a conspiracy at all. There's evidence to substantiate this.
The sheriff has come under fire by critics for taking up the birther issue, and today he again defended himself.
You're trying to go after the messenger. This is an official investigation, official, zeroing in on possible fraud of government documents. That's all, and it continues to be that.
So what happens now? Well, the sheriff says his part of this investigation is pretty much done. There's nowhere else for him to take this issue. He hopes a higher power steps in, but given the political mood and the issues that this whole birther argument brings up, that probably isn't likely. Reporting live, I'm Andrew Hasbin, Fox 10 News.
Okay, well, at least he gave it a fair analysis. He didn't throw in any stupid opinion on what he was saying, which is good. There weren't any politics. It wasn't about politics. This isn't about Democrat or Republican. This is about a man in the office who is supposed to have the ideals of United States of America in his heart. This is about a man who's in the office who doesn't have that same belief as you and I and other Americans. This man doesn't believe in America that we believe in. This man is systematically destroying America. Now, for those individuals who thinks that's okay, well, I don't know what to tell you, other than I'm desperately trying to see your point of view, but I can't get my head that far up my ass. That's my only response to that. Because there's a problem going on out there, and for anyone to choose not to look at the problem because they want to go with the Democrat or Republican is the problem. Stop looking at Democrat or Republican. Those are two sides bouncing you back and forth from one side to the next. And if you're playing that game, bouncing back and forth, guess what? They got you. You're in their game. And you've come to find out that neither side really matters because there's someone else behind the scenes calling the shots. That's what's going on. Now, here's something that was pulled up by Sheriff Joe throughout this, and this was important. After determining earlier this year there's probable cause to suspect the document released by the White House as Barack Obama's birth certificate is a forgery, Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio said today he believes his cold case posse investigation should be advanced to the federal government based on further information today released at a press conference. Cold Case Mike Zulu said the new information confirms the document presented to the American people is undoubtedly fraudulent. Arpaio told WND he tends to move the investigations to the new information to higher authority within the federal government because of what he calls an imminent threat to national security and U.S. immigration law. The threat is posed by a flaw in Hawaii's law discovered by his investigators that allow a foreigner to obtain a Hawaii birth certificate. Although I am having difficult time deciding who to forward this information to, given the fact that the obvious choices report directly to the president, I cannot stand by and hold on to the information that threatens to weaken our national security, Arpaio said. He intends on keeping the case file open if more information surfaces or if federal authorities decide to ignore the case. Zulu explained that along with the new information discovered regarding the birth certificate, since the posse's March 1st press conference, his team has discovered Hawaii provides easy access to birth certificate even if the child wasn't born in that state. Under Hawaii Revised Statute 33817.8, a person only has to be established resident of Hawaii, not necessarily a U.S. citizen, and pay taxes for 1 year to be able to register as an out-of-state foreign person with an official Hawaii birth certificate. If its nation's security is only as strong as its weakest link, then America may be in serious trouble, Arpaio said in a statement. Hawaii may be our weakest link and could have a serious impact on our nation's immigration policy. In other words, even though people go through a whole process to become citizens of the United States, if you go to Hawaii, you can get a birth certificate just by having established a residency there. That means you could illegally go into the state of Hawaii, not be a resident, get a place to live, stay there for a year, and after being there for a year, you could claim that you want a birth certificate and the state of Hawaii would give you one. Well, that's a big problem. That's a big problem that they would do that considering that there's all these loopholes or all these hoops that people have to jump to get their immigration. And so it's rather unfair to all of those who are going through the process that Hawaii will just give you one if you say that you're a resident there, take up residency. So there's a big problem. And it's not just about Obama, and it's a problem that needs to be addressed. So let's deal with this issue, and let's stop sweeping it under the carpet. And please, let's stop turning our back on the information that's important out there. Okay? Those of you who I'm talking to, you know the problems, right? Because I know that you're dealing with exactly the same things. You're talking to your friends, and they are in such denial about stuff that it's frustrating you. Sometimes you want to smack your friends upside the head, but we can't do that because that's not really any way to wake anybody up. But nonetheless, we can kind of do it metaphorically. If we just keep giving them information, eventually their eyes will be opened. All right, moving right along, let's turn our attention here to Ron Paul for the moment. Ron Paul, we've heard all about what's going on. Yesterday I played the Matt Larson 10, and he was talking about Ben Swann, and this is the exact thing. Ben Swann of Reality Check, with Ben Swann, an award-winning nighttime news anchor at WXIX Fox 19 in Cincinnati, joins Daily Paul with Kurt Wallace for facts, clarification from the RNC Rules Committee. Ron Paul has 6 states to discuss the details of his conversations with the Rules Committee and what that means for the many states in question regarding the nomination of Ron Paul, eligibility at RNC in Tampa. Ben also explains more regarding the unbound and bound delegates lawsuit and what a decision made prior to the convention would do. All right. So there you go. Got this up here. It's a little bit of a longer interview, but basically it's just like you heard the other day. Ron Paul's going to be added as nominee because Ron Paul has qualified with the right amount of wins. Actually more than that, and there's a lot of stuff that's going to be going on at the Republican National Convention in Tampa, things that aren't decided till then. So even though the mainstream news is trying to tell you things are decided right now, they're not. Mainstream media is lying to you. One of these days, people are actually, 100% of the people are actually going to believe that and turn off the mainstream news. And then they're going to be broadcasting to nobody. That's what happens when you lie. That's what happens. All right. Olympic ceremony slashed by half an hour over fears G4S security shambles could cause chaos for spectators. So we're just having one problem after another with these Olympics. Event cut to 3 hours, as it is feared that they will not cope with huge crowds, an Olympic source says. London 2012 tell Mail Online, tough decision taken to ensure that the 80,000 fans get home on public transport. Changes will help people get out of the stadium at midnight without any dangerous rush. The security shambles that has engulfed London 2012 have now forced the 27 million opening ceremony to be slashed by half an hour. It was revealed today. Slumdog millionaire Danny Boyle's spectacle has been cut to 3 hours to ensure the 80,000 fans at Olympic Stadium do not get stranded and left unable to get home on Friday the 27th. The extravaganza due to finish at 12:30 a.m. but will now end around midnight to allow people enough time to get on packed public transport. Ongoing fears over security also mean games organizers want more time to get the huge crowds safely out of Olympic Stadium, a source has said. So there you have it. More things going on with the Olympics. So they get to go to 12:30. Wonder what time was it that Bruce got cut off? I don't know. I don't remember. Anyway, moving on from there. All right, Fukushima. This is an interesting video here. It's a film crew near the Fukushima plant. They felt as well. Camera cuts to black, unidentified screaming as the radiation hits 5,000 microsieverts. So what we got here is a little video here. Let me see. I'm going to play part of it for you. Actually, the last part right here. They're going through. Let me just take this. They're going through, and when they get to the very end, you're going to see
でも、もう、かなり上がってきてるし。今いくつ？今もう5。あ、ごめん、60。80。ヒロさんも無理。これ100いった。あ、これ300あるよ。違う、よく500だ。じゃあ、パチ。戻る。あ、これダメだ。ああ！
どうしたの？まずいかも。なんか一瞬おかしかったよね。これも来た。
Alright, so something going on over there, and watch the whole video. The whole video, they're driving through the city, basically, and looking at some of the abandoned facilities around there, the buildings, and it's the very end, that's where what happens. So, what did they experience? Perhaps there'll be something more they'll come out with, describing it, but that is all we have at the moment. Alright, before we get into our meditation, been following a theme this week of positive thinking, so I'm going to continue on. This is Napoleon Hill. He's going to be talking about the second principle, the mastermind principle of think and grow rich. Here he is, Napoleon.
We come now to the second of the 17 principles which lead to the master key with which you may open the door to the attainment of your definite major purpose in life. This principle of success is called the mastermind principle. I want you to understand the nature of the mastermind principle because you must use it before you can take possession of the master key. An understandable definition of the mastermind is this. It consists of two or more people who work in perfect harmony for the attainment of a definite purpose. Now, here are some interesting facts about the mastermind which give you an idea of how important it is and how necessary that you embrace this principle and make use of it in attaining success in your chosen occupation. First of all, it is the principle through which you may borrow and use the education, the experience, the influence, and perhaps the capital of other people in carrying out your own plans in life. It is the principle through which you can accomplish in 1 year more than you could accomplish without it in a lifetime if you depended entirely upon your own efforts for success. And I have heard well-informed Bible students say that the first known application of the mastermind was that which existed between the Nazarene and his 12 disciples. Of one fact I am absolutely sure. When you form a true mastermind alliance with others and work with them in a spirit of perfect harmony, you can draw freely upon the spiritual forces within you in carrying out your plans and desires. I also know that the mastermind principle can give you absolute protection against failure, provided always that your purpose in using this principle is beneficial to all whom you influence. In my research while organizing the science of success, I had the collaboration of practically every outstanding successful man this country has produced during the past 50 years. And I can tell you definitely that their success was due in the main to their knowledge and application of the mastermind principle. I wish also to call your attention to the fact that our great American way of life and our unmatchable system of free enterprise have been built upon the mastermind principle. The greatest document ever conceived by the mind of man is a perfect example of the mastermind principle in action. It is the Declaration of Independence, and the best evidence of the importance of maintaining perfect harmony in a mastermind alliance may be found in the fact that the 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence knew full well that it might turn out to be either a license of freedom for all mankind or a death warrant which would cause each of the signers to be hanged. Now let us see how the mastermind principle has brought success to people whom we all know. First, consider when Kate Smith began her career as a singer. She had difficulty in earning enough from her singing to pay her living expenses. And she perhaps never would have made her singing pay if she had not discovered and applied the mastermind principle, which gave her access to the master key to success when she formed a mastermind alliance with Ted Collins. And according to a report I saw in Reader's Digest, Kate Smith has earned upwards of $30 million, and she is still in the upper brackets of income. Two, I remember when Edgar Bergen and that cute little block of wood known as Charlie McCarthy used to play anywhere they could get an engagement. And I rather suspect that often all they got for their services was a meal. But Edgar Bergen is a smart man in the field of entertainment. So he formed a mastermind alliance which introduced him and Charlie to millions of people by radio and television. And I suspect he is not concerned about money any longer. And you may be surprised when I tell you that the great Ford industrial empire started with the formation of a mastermind alliance between Henry Ford and his wife. At the beginning of his career, Henry Ford was shy and lacking in self-confidence. It was Mrs. Ford who inspired Henry Ford with the faith and the courage to go ahead with the perfection of his horseless carriage. Although his relatives and neighbors generally tried to discourage him from wasting his time with the contraption, as they called it. 4, the Federation of States, known as the United States of America, is the richest and the most powerful nation civilization has yet produced. And the secret of our strength and riches consists in our form of government through which all our states function in a spirit of harmony based on the mastermind principle through a central federal government located at Washington. And now a word to you personally. If you work for a salary or wages, you have a marvelous opportunity to promote yourself into a higher income and a more responsible position by forming a mastermind alliance with your associate workers, including the management. In my next visit, I will give you further instructions on how to apply the mastermind principle so as to increase your own income and promote yourself to a higher position with the full cooperation of your management. Yes, that is correct. I will show you how to write your own price tag, fix your own wages, establish your own working hours, and give yourself financial independence. But right now, I want you to do 3 things before our next visit. First, decide definitely where you wish to be and what you wish to be doing during the next 3 years. And second, decide how much money you desire to be making and what you are going to do to earn it. And third, form a mastermind alliance with at least one person in your immediate family and at least one other person among those to whom you are selling your services. By taking these 3 steps, you will have gone a long way toward appropriating the great master key to success. There is no such thing as something for nothing. Everything, including your personal success, has a price that must be paid. And the only price you are requested to pay for the present is the effort necessary to do 3 simple things that I have suggested. Now, before you begin to take the 3 steps I have suggested, there is one important fact I wish you to remember, and it is this. Control your mental attitude and make yourself friendly and agreeable with everyone with whom you are closely associated if you expect friendly cooperation in return. Indifference cannot create a mastermind alliance for you. A negative mental attitude can bring you nothing but failure. Remember always, you are where you are and what you are because of your mental attitude in which you relate yourself to other people. Remember also, your mental attitude is the one and the only thing over which you have complete control. Success is something which has to be planned, and success is something which has to be earned in advance. True, there is such a thing as luck, but just remember that luck is something you can create for yourself if you know the rules and follow them just as I give them to you. Remember, too, that success in the higher brackets of achievement is something that can be had only by taking others along with you. And the best definition of success, which I know, is this. Success is the knowledge with which to get whatever you want from life without violating the rights of others and by helping others to acquire it. There is a known formula for the attainment of success, and it is as definite and certain as are the rules of mathematics or the principles of science. My purpose in these visits is to bring you that formula in simple terms that you can understand and apply. But I can never give you that for which you are not ready. If you are ready to advance into the higher brackets of success, you will recognize this fact by your willingness to follow the simple instructions I shall give you as we go along. If Kate Smith had not been ready for success when she formed a mastermind alliance with Ted Collins, he couldn't have brought her success. This thing called success is a very profound and interesting thing because the line of demarcation between success and failure is so slight that it is often hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. For example, in my association with the late Henry Ford, I recognize that he had thousands of people working for him who had much more education than he, more magnetic personalities, more ability to make friends, and a much better chance of succeeding than Mr. Ford had when he was working for wages. But Mr. Ford had one simple quality the others who worked for him did not possess. The same quality I will clearly describe for you in my future visits with you. Meanwhile, I would be interested in knowing if you can describe this one simple quality Henry Ford possessed, which made him the greatest industrialist this nation has ever produced. In my next visit, I will give you a definite clue as to the success quality which helped Henry Ford spread his influence throughout the world and make himself richer than Croesus, despite the fact that he had only a meager common school education. Until then, please be of good cheer, will you? And just remember that your only real limitation is the one you accept and set up in your own mind.
All right, very good. So, that being said, let us move into our meditation for today. All right. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to imagine that you are entering a movie theater. You enter the movie theater and you have a seat and you find the best seat in the house. And as the movie starts to play and you look around, you realize that you're the only one in the movie theater. And as images start to play on the screen, you realize that you are looking at your life. You realize that you are being shown your life because this theater represents your subconscious mind, the deep part of you that you go to be able to learn and plan and develop. And as you watch the screen, you see your life unfold. Where you've been in the past. You see how you've gotten to where you are now. And finally the movie stops as you watch yourself on the screen seated inside a theater. And then you wonder what's next. And as you imagine what you would like to happen in your life and you look up at the screen, you see the movie is playing again. And it is playing what you are imagining. And as you continue to imagine, the story continues to unfold. And you realize that your mind has the ability to create the future that you want. You just need to focus on it. And the more you focus, the clearer that vision, the clearer the pictures, the clearer the movie. So for today, I simply want you to focus over the course of today on what it is you want. Contemplate that idea throughout the course of today. What you want. And then think about what you're willing to do to get what you want. Because there's always a trade-off of some sort. Maybe it's an energetic trade-off. Maybe it's a trade of money for goods, money for ideas. Whatever the case may be, there's always an energetic exchange that takes place. So contemplate what you want, what you're willing to do to get what you want, and finally, how you plan on attaining what it is you want. Contemplate these ideas, let them settle into your subconscious, percolate there throughout the course of today and see what answers come to the surface. Let's imagine sending out love from our heart chakra all around the planet. Color green. Send it around. Imagine the planet glowing bright green. And all the people on the planet filled with love. And as we hold that idea in our mind's eye, let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. And there you have it. That's the end of our show, our prayer, our meditation. Thanks for being here again. There's a lot going on in the world, but our minds are very powerful. And so the more that we can keep our minds sharp, keep focused on manifesting the good we want, we'll get rid of all this bad. We will. Because good is coming. That is the promise. All the books of prophecy, the book of Revelation, the stories, they all talk about ending of the bad and the beginning of the good. So keep believing good, my friends. Good will happen. I'll be back tomorrow with more news information. Till then, be safe. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.